everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tails Crafts. I am back today with another Trifold pop-up card tutorial. This time we're featuring our final bundle that's part of our new collection. So I'll be using the new Nativity Trifold die set, the Bethlehem Camels set, the Bethlehem City, and then I'm also going to pull in the new starry background that's in the same bundle. I don't know why I didn't show it at the beginning of the video, but you'll see it a little bit later. So the Nativity Trifold die set has over 50 dies, individual dies in the one set. And I've been doing so much paper piecing lately, and I really had the urge to Copic color. So I thought, instead of spending the time paper piecing like I normally would for all of these characters from the Nativity set, I thought it'd be fun to color them instead and give them dimension. And because it's not a stamp and it doesn't have like that bold black outline, you end up coloring a no line colored image, and it almost looks watercolored, even though you can see I am using my alcohol inks here. These are Copics, and I chose, you guys saw there, all the markers I'm using. You can go back, pause the video to use the same colors if you want. But I chose very desaturated colors. I did choose some, more rich, almost royal looking colors for my wise men. But for the most part, all of the colors I chose are desaturated. That's because I'm going to have a very bright background, and I didn't want my images to conflict too much with my starry background. I am going 4 times the speed with my coloring here. I'm using 2 shades for each color. And I found what I ended up doing with these images is I would color the whole thing with the lighter color, and then I'd go back in with a darker color and add the lines that are already made in the die. So there's ingrained lines, which would indicate like the folds of the fabric, and that is where I added the darker color. So it's very simple coloring, only 2 markers here. These are pretty small images, so I didn't go too crazy. With that being said, this still took like an hour, at least an hour, to color every single image from those 3 sets that I showed. I did end up cutting all the camels, pretty much every image from those sets. I don't end up using all of them, but I wanted to have options. So here you can see I colored this king's, his fabric all in that lighter red, and now I have a darker red, and I'm only going over those ingrained lines. I'm not really doing any blending. I'm just adding some darker lines to indicate shading and where the fabric would kind of buckle together and fold. You can see that I'm leaving quite a bit of white space on these images, and that is because I did do a little bit of paper piecing on them. So I wanted to have some gold accents on some of my characters. So everything I'm leaving white is going to have gold glued on top, and I love that. I guess, mixing the Copic coloring with some paper piecing. It ended up looking really pretty, and I'm definitely going to do this with some of our other sets that have just a lot of detail. I think this would work well with the Scrooge set that we brought out in the latest collection, so I actually plan to do this same technique, maybe in a live, with the new Christmas Carol book cover. So with this wise man, I went with a green color scheme for his outfit, colored everything in that lighter green. Now I'm going over with a darker green marker and just going over those lines that are made already on the die. That makes it really easy to do very basic shading. I don't even really go back in and blend this out. I do want that high contrast because I don't have a black outline that kind of easily separates every feature. I rely on my darker marker to really indicate the features. I hope that makes sense. I think you understand, if you've done no line coloring, that sometimes it can be challenging to show the small parts of an image because you're probably blending too much. You're probably not leaving enough contrast. So I had to fight every urge in me to not do heavy blending, and I did purposely choose two very contrasting shades of the same color, because ultimately that is how you're going to add the detail back into these images. So here I have Mary. I went with a lighter blue for her outfit. Now, if you do want to see these images paper pieced, as I mentioned, out of the entire trifold bundles, our Nativity one has the most detail. It has by far the most layers. And I did showcase 3 Nativity Trifold cards in the product showcase video that were all paper pieced. And in total, this card took me all day. I think I started at like 11 and finished at 11. It was literally 12 hours. Obviously, I took breaks in between. But out of all the trifolds I've posted on my channel so far, this one took the longest. But I will say it's probably the prettiest. I think the time really shows in this card. And you can definitely save time by paper piecing or just coloring these images with one marker. Now I'm coloring Joseph. I'm giving him a gray outfit. And so this was actually the first time I got to use the Nativity set. My mom created the Nativity cards in the showcase video, and I just had so much fun adding all the details back into these characters. I think, there's a lack of products that are religious based for Christmas, and I'm really happy with how this turned out. I really feel like the 3 sets, or I guess the 4 sets in combination, help you build the perfect nativity scene. And obviously these images are quite small, so they would work on flat card designs as well for A2, A7, or bigger, because these trifolds are 5x7 size. So I did do the shepherd off camera. I just showed the markers I used. I did the exact same thing as the rest of the characters. Now I'll show you guys the camels. I think I'm just going to show you one. I did show you the markers, and I love the camels. They're so cute. I wish I could have used all 3. I only ended up using 1. But you can see I went over the camel's fur with my lightest marker. Now I'm going in with my darkest marker, going over the dark areas with this mid-tone. So I guess with the camels I used 3 markers. And then you can see I left quite a bit of space that still shows the lightest color. And then with the lightest marker I went over the whole thing again just to blend it out. These camels don't have fabric, so I did want a more blended look for them. For their saddles, I went with red, and I made sure to match their saddles to the wise men's outfits. So you'll see, each wise man has its own camel. Then I have the donkey left, and the donkey is one of my favorite images from the Nativity set. All of these characters, except the shepherd, are in the original Nativity set. There's also 3 really cute sheep in that set, so just with that one, you can create the entire Nativity scene, because the wise men are also in that set. The only thing that is from the other 2 sets are the camels and the shepherd, and then the little Bethlehem scene that I put on the front of the card. So really the Nativity Trifold has the best value, I think, out of all 3 of the bundles, or I guess the base sets that we created, just because I managed to fit the entire nativity scene. That set did take a very long time to illustrate, but I'm so happy with it. All right, so the donkey's gonna get a green saddle, and then there's like a blanket hanging off of that. I just went with browns. And then I will color the Bethlehem buildings now. Went with neutral browns, grays for this. I am going to paper piece the top of these buildings, and I'm also going to give the windows gold glitter behind them. So I really like the addition of the specialty cardstock in this design. And this little Bethlehem city will go on the front of my trifold. If I would have had extra time, I probably would have made more of these buildings and made similar to the card from my Winterscape Trifold video, the one where there's just one pull down. I think this would be really pretty with just the Bethlehem buildings and then maybe the Merry Christmas at the top. I do have a card in the showcase video that's very similar to what I'm talking about. If you'd like to see that, definitely check that video out. All right, and then there's this one teeny tiny building from that set. All right, so I think everything's colored. Oh, I have my lambs left. There's 3 in this set, and I just think that out of all the coloring, I really like how the lambs ended up looking. I thought they were going to be too dark because I used W5, W2, and then I'm going over it with E00 to kind of make them more cream colored. But by the time they are added to the scene, I think the shading is perfect on them. And again, you really need that contrast when you do not have an outline image. I definitely want to make more animals like this in future sets. I think these would work well for Easter as well. So yeah, I'm just going in with that E00 just to go over the shading I just did. And then I do have the basket left, so I'm going with some brown markers. I guess the manger. So I do have to add the detail back into all of the characters' eyes and the noses for the animals. So I'm taking a 0.05 fine liner, it's super fine, to go over the engraved lines. There's also debossing where the eyeballs are. Just going over those lines with the fine liner to add the detail back in. And then I will add the gold accents. And I think the gold really elevated these die cuts. I'm excited to do this with some other sets. I don't know why I never think to add Copic coloring to die cuts, but a lot of the Scrappy Tails design team members do it. And I thought, because I did not feel like paper piecing everything, I thought, why not try the Copic coloring? And I'm really happy with how it turned out. In the end, it probably took the same amount of time as it would to paper piece, but obviously the Copic coloring adds all that dimension. You can really see it on the fabric of the clothes. All right, so now I'm adding the gold, and as I'm gluing the gold, I realize I left some white space. So as I go, I'm gonna just add more color. So my wise men got gold accents, my donkey and my camels. I did not add anything more to Joseph, Mary, or the shepherd. You could even do bronze, silver, and gold as the wise men gifts, but I just left mine all gold. But you can see how that really adds a lot to these images. I think this scene would be also beautiful on a slimline card, a horizontal design, because there are so many characters. You can really build the scene from the center out. So lots of possibilities with this bundle. It's the smallest out of all of them, but like I said, I think it actually has the most amount of images because there is layers for all the clothing, the beard, the crowns, just a ton of detail if you want to add it. Sorry, my head will start getting in the way a lot for the rest of this process, so I hope you guys don't mind too much. So for my next video, I'm going to take a break from the trifolds, and I'm actually going to release a video using products from previous Christmas collections because our early Black Friday sale starts tomorrow. So I don't think I'll have the video out tomorrow. It'll probably be out on Saturday. But I did want to disclaim it now. We will have 25% off the entire store, excluding the new release. So that's why I'm going to pull in some older Christmas sets. So the lanterns, the snow globes, the characters from last year, all of those will be 25% off until Monday. So basically you're getting our Black Friday sale early. Black Friday will have like additional specials, but there's no guarantee that we'll have all the stock because of this pre-Black Friday sale. So the main sale is going to be the same next week as it is this weekend. So I would definitely take advantage of that because there are limited quantities of some of our products in the store. And I thought it would be fun to show a video showcasing some older products so that you guys can get excited about the sale. All right, so now I'm working on more gold accents for the camels. I realize here that I have a couple gold pieces left and that these belong to this particular king. So I'm just adding those on. And there are my 3 wise men, my 3 coordinating camels, and now I'm going to add the gold glitter behind the buildings. So yes, I also plan to go live possibly on Black Friday. Again, showcasing some older Christmas stuff. And I will probably also go live sometime this weekend just to show some of the new products as well. All right, so now I have them glued onto the glitter paper. I'll just trim them out, and I do start using these chunky scissors, but luckily the Amazon delivery man came with my fine scissors right in time as I was cutting these, so I will switch over to those. I really think all of these gold accents were definitely worth the extra time. Like I said, out of the 3 trifolds I have now featured on my YouTube channel, this one I think is my favorite. I love how the shading turned out with the Copic markers. I love all the colors. And then I have yet to do any ink blending on any of the card designs that I've already showed, so it was really fun pulling out my inks to create that sky background, the night sky, in combination with the starry background from this Nativity bundle. Okay, so you can see that there are some white die cuts over to the right. Originally, I had cut all of those from Bristol Smooth paper because I thought maybe I would watercolor, but I quickly realized that these images were just too small for me to do watercoloring. I'm just not that good at it. So instead of throwing them away, I thought I would just add them to the back of my Copic colored die cuts, and just Bristol did not work well with my alcohol markers, so I did have to recut everything from Nina 110-pound smooth cardstock, which is a great paper for Copic coloring, and Maverick has joined me yet again, so I thought I would show him, and now I'm going to move him. So back to work. I cut the buildings again from gold mirror cardstock, and I'm just cutting off their tops, like the roof pieces, and I'll glue those on top. Was this necessary? Probably not, but my sentiment has some gold mirror on it, so I thought, why not add gold mirror to the bottom of the card? I think the gold glitter in the windows was probably enough, but I do enjoy the details. The die also includes those cute little palm trees, so I will use those as well. Okay, I think I'm finally done coloring. This took a very long time. like I said, it probably takes the same amount of time to paper piece versus coloring it. But I was just excited to do something different, pull out my Copic markers. I feel like it's been ages since I used them. All right, so I am going to pull in the banister die from the new Christmas house trifold, this piece right here. I kind of want this to ground my scene a little bit. It's not necessarily like the stable of the scene, but it just added a place to join all my characters, and it just looked better. So I used that for that. Now I have my Merry Christmas. This is included in the Bethlehem set. There's also a really beautiful long sentiment that you can add to the front of the card instead of doing the cityscape. I did showcase that sentiment a couple times in the showcase video. All right, so here is that Starry Night background die. It's 5x7 size. So I love that you can use it on A2 or A7. And I'm going to do all of my ink blending. So I made a total of 5 ink blended panels. I needed 4 of this design. So this is the smaller arched shape in the Nativity bundle. And then I needed 1 blended panel that is the tall arch to go in the center of my trifold. So this did take a bit of time. I went with Blueprint Sketch, Villainous Potion, and here you can see I used Uncharted Mariner, but it was just too similar to Blueprint Sketch, so I will pull in Chip Sapphire instead and go over the Uncharted Mariner color because I wanted it darker in the bottom. So here I'm trying to add more darkness, but you can see those 2 blues are just blending to be the same color. So you could do Black Soot at the bottom and go for full on contrast, but the Chip Sapphire was a dark enough blue for me. So here you can see that's this ink here. I'm much happier with that. And at this point I was unsure on whether I wanted the stars to be gold because I knew my arches were going to be gold. But we're going to continue blending. I'll come back to that. So here, I'm just going to show you one more panel. Like I said, off camera, I made 2 more of these, and then I did 1 long piece for the center trifold with the exact same colors. But this one has the Chip Sapphire. So I actually went with the colors that are shown on the picture of the starry background die. I thought the blue to purple would be pretty. And again, that's why I chose desaturated Copic markers, because I did think that these colors were pretty vibrant, so I wanted there to be a little bit of contrast within the coloring on the images. All right, so there's another one. Now I'm going to pull in the background die. I'm going to place it onto my magnet sheet for my Empress. And then I'm going to take each of these ink blended panels, center them up on this background die, and run it through. So what's nice about this background is it embosses and it die cuts. So you can see part of the design cuts out and then the other part double embosses, and it's really pretty. I think this doesn't necessarily have to only be used for Christmas. I think this could be used for a lot of designs. So I did that with all 5 of my panels. I'll show you one more. But this is how I typically work. I like to do assembly line style. Get all of my blending done, die cutting, coloring, and then finally I assemble. So this card definitely was a labor of love. I plan to keep this. There's no way I'm sending this card out. And by the time it's finished, it's a beautiful home decor piece. So that's what I'm calling these at this point, because the amount of time spent on them really does warrant more of a home decor, like lifelong, what is the word? Keepsake. That's the word. Okay, so I did the rest off camera. Here's that long piece that's going to go in the center. And again, I cut all of these trifold pieces again from gold glitter, or it's not a glitter, it's a shimmer paper. And this is included in a Spellbinders gold paper set. So in that set, there's gold glitter, gold shimmer, and then there's a gold matte mirror paper, and then a gold reflective mirror. And I think that bundle's really great. That's what I've been using for all of my gold and silver accents throughout all of the card designs I've shown. So I'll be sure to link that. But this shimmer gold I thought was perfect because it wasn't too much. I feel like the mirror would have been too reflective. Even with the matte gold, I think it would have been too much. So I'm really happy with this shimmer paper. Now, I only want the frame from the gold, so I will keep, what I'm cutting out here. I'll use it for a different project. But I will use this and glue it onto my ink blended pieces. And again, I was not sure if I wanted the stars in the background to be the same gold or if I wanted a different color. I end up making my life harder than it had to be, and I'm going to use white behind the stars. So in order to do that, I had to cut my ink blended piece. I guess I didn't have to, but I did not have to. I could have just glued this on to the white and just cut around the outer edge, but in this case, I'm cutting inside the frame. It doesn't matter any way you choose to do it. But here you can see if you do the gold stars, then you do not have to cut the inside part of the gold. You can just leave it and then glue the ink blended piece right on top. But I did want some brighter stars. So I did recut all of the trifold pieces from a light kind of off-white color. It is heavyweight. I do suggest heavyweight cardstock for the base pieces. And now I'm going to start gluing up all of my blended panels. All right, so this one I realized, I cut the whole thing out. I did not cut inside the frame. You don't have to, but for some of them I did. It doesn't matter. And then the gold frame will just be glued on top. So I do think the bright white stars was a good call. I think it added a lot of pretty interest to the background. Definitely the gold stars would have been pretty as well. It would have been more subtle. But I think that ink blending turned out beautiful. I'm so happy with that. All right, so this will end up being the front of my card design. So I'm going to pull in my sentiment will go at the top, and then my little cityscape will go below. The Bethlehem City die set includes the sandhills that I'm going to use all throughout this card. What's nice is you can also use those sandhills with the other bundles, and they can work as snow hills. Obviously, you can cut your own very easily though, so I thought I would add some shading to these. I probably did not have to do this because most of this gets covered by my buildings and all my characters, but I had so much dimension everywhere else that I figured why not add a little bit of vintage photo to the bottom of these craft sandhills. So I have enough for the inside and outside of my card. All right, so I'm going to layer these together. You can see that they go perfectly across that arch. And then I'll add the one to the bottom. You can add foam tape to the one at the bottom if you want. I did double up my sentiment so that it stands out. And the sentiment I cut from the gold mirror matte from the same set from Spellbinders. So the actual color of the gold matches, even though one is shiny and one is shimmery. All right, so here are my buildings. I'm happy with that design, so I'll go ahead and glue them down. And I think this turned out really pretty. I think this scene would be gorgeous on the inside pull down as well. Okay, so now I have my little palm trees, and that's going to complete this little scene on the front of my card. And then I'm going to start gluing more ink blended panels and gold frames onto the other trifold base pieces. Oh, and one extra detail I added, and my camera was kind of funky here, so I just cut this out. But I took a Stardust gold glitter pen and went over all of the embossing that's on the background. It's so hard to see on camera, but it adds a really pretty gold shimmer to the background. So I'll end up adding that pen to the inside pieces as well. I figured I already spent this much time, I might as well go all out with this card. Definitely unnecessary. Okay, so this is going to be the front of my card, and I want my trifold to open from the left. So I'm going to cut off the right glue tab. I do not need it. So this is going to wrap around the center trifold on the back on the left side. So then I'll just go ahead and reinforce the score lines on the other side. And here I realize I need to add more glue where it lines up with the edge of the glue tab. This card ends up being quite heavy because of all of the cardstock layers. That's why I'm saying by the time these are done, you can definitely use them as home decor. And if they're stored properly, I really feel like they're gonna last for years. All right, so here is my other arch. So the Nativity Trifold set comes with like the Christmas house, it has a short piece and a long. I like the different sizes. You can make them all the same size if you want, but you're gonna see the left and right wing, I went with the shorter arch, and then for the center piece, I went with the taller arch. You can do them all three with the taller arch, all three with the shorter. I made a couple cards where I did the two tall ones on the side and the short one in the center. There's a lot of combinations you can use. So here I have another ink blended panel. I'm gonna go ahead and glue this down so that that cream paper shines through the stars. I think it's really pretty. And then on top of that, I will glue my gold shimmer frame. So this will be the right wing, and it's going to be the front. So I thought this would be the best area to add the custom message. So I'm going to keep this fairly simple. I'm just going to glue my gold arch, and then in the center, I cut a cream oval, just like I did with the Trifold Christmas house. I thought that was plenty enough room to write a message. I thought about adding the star at the top. Then I think about adding the star onto the front of the card. There's also a different star in the Nativity set. So that pointy one is from the Bethlehem cityscape, and this one that I'm using or like holding is from the Nativity. So I end up going with the fatter star and adding that to the top of the front of the card. And so on this one, I thought I would just leave the oval, but I'll later add one of my wise men because the wise man, the third one, did not fit inside the nativity scene. So we will come back to this, but I think the oval is really all you need because of that beautiful ink blending and the stars. You really don't need to add anything else. Okay, so now we continue gluing. And I made a mistake here. I actually glued this piece onto the gold, and then I realized, wait, I need to have white stars. So I pulled that off. Luckily, the glue wasn't dry. I'll glue it onto my cream base piece, and then I will cut the gold frame and glue the frame on top. So this definitely took some time because I wanted all those different colors. You can keep everything literally the same color. You can keep it tone on tone where the stars are not as bright. Or you can do it with the frame and the stars being the same color and then the main centerpiece being a different color. I'm just going to add some weight and let that dry. This is the back side of the front piece that we decorated with the cityscape. Again, same thing, going to glue the gold frame and then the ink blended panel in the center. All right, and then I will add the blended piece and the gold frame to the back side of the oval. Again, I went over the stars on this piece with my gold shimmer pen. I just did that off camera because you can't even really tell. All right, so I think this is the last piece I need to glue. I think you can also use this starry background with the Winterscape bundle. You can make it almost look like snow, I feel. All right, so now we can officially assemble and start decorating. So I'm going to add 1/2 inch strong double-sided tape to each of the wings. And then I wrap these glue tabs around the back of the center trifold so that you don't see the glue tab. I'm going to trim off the bottom a little bit so that it's completely straight. It's just going to be easier to line this up on the back. And if you do not want to see the glue tabs, you can always glue a center trifold on the back and cover those up. You will also wrap around the pull down pop-up portion around the back of the center trifold too. So I think it is a good idea to clean it up. If you do not have an area to write a message on, you can write the message on the back. And then you can see when they're all lined up, it just looks so pretty. I love that starry background. All right, so now I'm going to add my pull down piece. I cut this from 100-pound craft cardstock. This will kind of blend in with the sandhills. I cut it twice. On my first one, I will add double-sided tape above the top score line, and this will wrap around the back center trifold. So you guys have seen this now a couple times if you've seen my other videos. It's very simple to build these. They just take a bit of time. All right, so you can see I'm going to line up that score line to the very bottom of the center trifold and then fold it up just to ensure that that glue attaches to the back well. Then I have another 100-pound craft piece. I'm just going to cut off the glue tab this time and glue this on top of the one that's already glued. This will just add some more stability to this piece. I want this to be nice and sturdy because it will be constantly pulled up and down. making sure to line up those slits. And then, oh, by the way, I forgot to show this at the beginning of the video, but this piece comes in the main A7 pop-up trifold die set, along with the bridges that go inside the slits. Here I am bringing in that arch banister from the Christmas house set, and I will add this to the back row. I'm going to make it more sturdy with these brown pieces. I wasn't sure if I wanted this to be brown or gold. I end up going with the gold, but I will add the brown ones behind for extra stability. It's quite skinny and flimsy, so the extra layers definitely helped out there. All right, just gonna give that a nice crease. And now I'm gonna add my bridges inside. So the main die set includes 2 longer ones and 1 short. So the 2 long ones will go on the 2nd and 3rd row. Gonna add strong double-sided 1/2-inch tape onto the rectangle part. You can do either side of the score line. I prefer to add it to the rectangle piece for some reason. I think I just like when there's less surface area. It hides my images a little bit better when I have the angled ones pointing upwards. But obviously it's a little bit more difficult to wrap these inside the slit. So it's totally up to you. I've shown in previous videos either way. But basically you just you add your tape and then you shove it through the slit and then wrap it around the back of the pull down piece to adhere the bridge. All right, so now I'm working on my second one here. I'm gonna add double-sided tape and glue just so I can wiggle this around. This one was easier to put in. So I just shove the glue portion through the slit and push it up against the pull down part. And these will hold all of our decorative elements. Now I can pull in all of my die cuts, and I plan to have Mary and Joseph in the back row. I will have the wise men and the cradle on the 2nd row and the sheep on the 1st. I am going to pull in those sandhills again just to make this a little bit taller. I want my scene to be taller in the back and shorter in the front. So I'm gluing these sandhills directly onto the bridges. Luckily they're the same color, so it worked out well. All right, so my arch is going to go in the back. This added some nice height that I think was needed for this. And it also grounded my scene a little bit. All right, so Mary's going to go on the left. Joseph will go on the right. And I apologize, my card has shifted up a bit, but now I'm going to pull it down, and then we need to attach this 3rd row onto the back of the card in order to stabilize it and also ensure that nothing falls forward. So these bridges, I cut 3 of them from the main die set. Going to add double-sided tape to each of the glue tabs. You want to have the glue tabs facing down when you add it inside your card. And then you will add one side. You'll add the glue tab behind that 3rd row of images. And then the other glue tab will stretch across and touch the back wall of the card. That way, when this folds down and you're pulling down the scene, nothing is going to fall forward. It's all going to kind of fall right into place. And every layer will be the same distance apart. All right, so here I have the little manger. And then I also want to pull in my other sandhills just to see how I want to arrange the rest of this scene. You can definitely leave the left and right side completely bare. And that's what I'm saying is you do not have to add as much detail as I am. I think it would be just as pretty to just leave the ink blended left and right wing. But because I had all these images ready to go, I figured I would use them. I thought about putting the wise men on the wings, but I thought they would make more sense to add to the actual nativity scene. So I end up using the green and the red wise men onto the second row. Thought about using the camel. You can see I'm just kind of arranging all my die cuts to see what looks best. And then my turquoise king is gonna go, like I said, onto that oval piece to add a little bit of decoration on that. All right, and then my first row, I'm not going to add a sandhill. I'm just going to glue my little sheep directly onto the bridge. I actually do wish I would have added a sandhill though and made it a little bit taller because it was a little bit fussy trying to get the bridge to connect from the first row to the second row. Here you can see I'm just kind of playing around with my sheep. I really wanted to use the standing sheep, so I'm going to add the two sitting ones to the front, and then I will squeeze in that tall sheep onto the center row. So that's how that's going to look. And then I added the pointy star to the top. That was a nice finishing touch. And then for some reason my camera cut off, but I did just go ahead and glue all those sheep down. Now I will glue my sandhills on the left and right wing. And here's where I decide that that wise man is going to go onto the oval flap. I'm going to cut another sandhill because I ran out of sandhills. I don't know if I add vintage photo to this. I think I just glue it down. Yeah. But that way it kind of coordinates with the rest of the scene and it grounds my little wise men there. I love the illustration style of these. They kind of remind me of Precious Moments. So they're kind of cartoony, but they're also very like timeless looking. They're not like childish. They're just very sweet images. Okay, so as I was pulling down the center part, I realized I forgot to add my two other bridges. So I will add another one connecting the second row to the third row. And then I will add my final bridge connecting the front row to the second. And I did have to trim this bridge a little bit because of how short the front row is. And again, I'm remembering to glue the tabs facing down so that when this folds up, the bridges will fold in the same direction. So here you're going to see I end up trimming, or I guess I didn't show it, but I definitely did trim it. There we go. I take it out, I move my cat, and now we trim. So I just cut each glue tab in half basically. So there's still a little bit of glue there. I added some more and just centered that right behind my sheep and pulled it across. So this was a little bit fiddly. Like I said, if I were to recreate this, I probably would add a tiny sandhill for the bottom sheep. I do close it to make sure everything sticks properly. And we're good to go. All right, so I have some images remaining. I have all of my camels and my shepherd and my donkey. And you can't go wrong with any of the choices that are left, but I did go with one camel, the donkey, and the shepherd. But look how cute those camels would be if you added just the camels. So I'm so happy with how this card turned out. I think it's probably one of my favorite cards I've ever made. It's definitely my favorite Christmas card I've made with the new collection. Let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I'm going to switch gears for the next video. I think I want to make some felt ornaments and create a garland with the new advent calendar. As I mentioned, the Scrappy Tails store is going to be 25% off tomorrow, so be on a lookout for the discount code. I will have an email going out in the morning, and I will have graphics shared on social media and in the fan group so that you guys can go shopping. I did add that gold detail with the pen. It's very hard to see on camera, but it's very pretty in real life. And then here is how the card closes. And then you fold down the right flap, the left flap, and you have that beautiful Bethlehem cityscape. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I am going to create a blog for the last 3 trifold cards that I posted on YouTube, so you can see close-up photos of the 3 cards. So I will have that blog linked down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!